Good afternoon, everyone. It's the 18th of December. Last few days of the trading year are upon us. Let's have a quick look at the S&P 500 to see what's going on generally in the markets. We had a gap up today due to the core CPI inflation data as well as jobless claims. You ran right into that 5-day moving average, pulled back, created a lower low. We tried to test that 5-day moving average again. And by the end of the day here, it does look, sorry for this drawing, it does look like we are potentially going to test that 5-day moving average again. Now, I just drew this in because I had to re-record this video, but this could line up quite nicely for the Santa Claus rally potential of seasonality. And I say this because if we can, I would like to see it pull back and undercut the recent low. That would take out some stops and structurally give it a little bit more, just a little bit more structure in general in order to kind of rebuild. Undercut some lows here, take out some stops, pull back up to that 5-day moving average, pull back, tighten up a little bit, maybe push through the 5-day moving average, trap in some sellers, some buyers, sorry, sell back off, pull under the 5-day moving average, tighten up, and then go. And that we would have enough time between now and the 24th for that to potentially happen. Now, is it a chat? At the end of the day, it's just a potential idea that could end up turning into place, but we have to anticipate these things. And my guess is maybe in the S&P 500, that's kind of what we see happen. It would allow us to get involved with a low risk, high probability entry once that 5-day moving average starts to flatten out. And we need a few days here to get through this chunk of data, hold around this area for that 5-day to flatten out. So keep that in mind. We're 20-day moving average is still rising, and we have a 50 which is starting to flatten. So we'll see what happens here, and we'll go from there. In the Qs, something very similar, kind of battling with that 5-day moving average on the 30-minute time frame, holding above that week-to-date volume weighted average price, but we do have a declining 50 but a rising 20. Semiconductors, similar, holding above the week-to-date. We have steep declining 5-day moving average. Can't look at the SMH without having a quick look at NVIDIA. And NVIDIA, what do we see? We see a clear pattern of continued lower highs and lower lows on this 30-minute time frame, and we are up against that potentially 169 level as a downwards potential, and that's primarily because we seem to be in a downtrend. 20-day and 50 are declining. So let's go back to some indices here. The XBI taking a little bit of profit, broke that 20-day moving average today. It is still rising. Maybe we see it pull back to that 50-day moving average, but we've just had a pretty substantial run here in the XBI. I'm not expecting miracles for it to continue on going. Russell 2000, very similar to the XBI. No reason to get involved. It's pulling back. It found some supply at that 20-day moving average, and but it's below a 5, and it's just starting to be below a 5. So unless we suddenly get a rally up, that 5-day moving average will continue to decline as we continue into the next few days worth of data. So not something to really pay much attention to or invest your money. Energy stocks, we have that rising 200-day moving average potentially over the next couple of days. That 50-day moving average is still continuing to rise, but that 20 is declining. It's quite choppy in here, but there's a pattern of lower highs and lower lows on that short-term time frame. Energy names just doesn't excite me whatsoever. And financials kind of holding in there, bit of a consolidation pullback around this kind of larger pivot area. But we're in a fairly decent uptrend established on the daily time frame. So if you trade financials, maybe it's something that interests you. A quick look at crypto here. Bitcoin's pulling back to that anchor from the January 2024, which is around 83,000, where it found supply in and around this area before we had this small kind of choppy bounce. Looks like it's going to continue to break down. Ideally, we see it pull down to that 76,000 level. Maybe we see an undercut of this level here, which would bring it down to about 74, maybe 73,000. And then that would take out any stops. And then there would potentially opportunity to rebuild alongside the S&P 500, which could potentially start to rebuild here in the next couple of days based off of the analysis we just had a quick look at. Ethereum's holding the blue anchor from the March 2023 low. That's where it kind of found some supply on the recent bounce. But we're right back down to that anchor, testing it right now. We'll see how this one plays out. Solana, I'm keeping an eye on, very close eye on. We could come down and undercut this low over here, which would bring us down to about $92. That would be from the anchor from the onset of all time of Solana. Definitely going to be keeping a close eye on Solana over the next few days as it continues to be the weaker ones. But if you can, there is a potential for a high probability bounce down at this 92 level. We'll have to just keep a very close eye on it and see how that plays out. Outside of that, the Mag 7 stocks generally are doing okay. A few stock ideas for tomorrow. This Titan, it looks okay. It's a little bit far away from the 5-day moving average, but on that shorter term time frame, it's really trying to hold up here. It's making a pattern of higher highs, higher lows. If you're interested in it, it's maybe a buy with a tight stop. As it breaks out of this consolidation level, it looks okay. The 5-day moving average is starting to rise, and it will over the next few days because we're getting into this data in here. So ideally, I would say we want to see another pullback based off of yesterday. It needs to be a bit deeper. It's kind of rallied from 104 up to 107 today. So I don't think it's really an A-list idea for tomorrow, but it could definitely be one come Monday, Tuesday next week. Pan W still on a potential short side opportunity. Getting a bit of a rally here at the end of the day. It is making a pattern of continued lower highs and lower lows. It does look like it has potential to break down below this level. I'd say if we get a rally up, maybe into that 5-day moving average as a retest, and then it sells off, it would be potentially a buy. It's just one to keep an eye on. This Vicky, it's a REIT, so just keep something to be aware of. It's a pretty slow moving stock. But first thing tomorrow morning, we're going to be into this data up here, which will mean the 5-day moving average is going to quickly start to decline. We're below the week-to-date volume weighted average price in the daily, and we're just a smidge above the monthly right now as we come into the close of the day. I would say if we can get down below this level, or even start to break down below this level, somewhere purchase somewhere in here with a stop above 2840, pretty tight stop. It's a REIT, it doesn't move quickly, something to be aware of. Summit Therapeutics is another one that I picked up on. This looks like it's going to break down on the daily time frame. It's below that declining 250 and 20-day moving average. We're below the weekly and the daily on the short-term time frame. Honestly, this looks like a potential sell right now. I don't like trading in the last minutes of the day, but this definitely looks like it could start to sell off. Ideally, what would happen is we actually get a bit of a rally up tomorrow, and then we sell off. But this one looks like it's ready to drop into the ocean. So keep an eye on this one as a potential watch list idea for tomorrow. Half size risk unit. I wouldn't put a full size position on this one. And then Rocket Lab for the long side. It's not ready yet. It needs a day or two. Maybe this is early next week if the market holds up. Right now we're up into this data on the 5-day moving average, so we're with the 5 days declining. We're holding all the necessary moving averages. The 50 still declining, so it needs a few more days to get through this data up here. But if we get a bit of a rally, it will kind of help with it. But generally, it could start to rise. I would say I like a bit of a pullback. It's just jumped from 53 to 60, which is nearly 10 basis point. Yes, up 10.5% today. So we pull back, maybe we consolidate a bit and give that 5-day moving average a bit more time to kind of flatten out and start to rise. So that's it for today, folks. Sorry, I had to actually record this video twice. Therefore, I was a little bit rushed on the second time, but hopefully that gives all the information you need. Hope you had a good day. Hopefully you didn't get too cut up in the market. It's been a little choppy, and we'll see how the rest of the day plays out.